Check out this testimony. Watch this.
What's the weirdest thing that ever happened to you that made you think that God was real? And I'm not talking about believing in some kind of universal energy.
Here's my story, and I love sharing this. Back in 2019, I was at my peak walk with God, okay? I was talking about I was eat, breathe, sleeping the word of God. I was going through something, and I just got really close to God. So long story short, I was at work one day, and I ended up breaking an acrylic nail. During my lunch break, I ended up driving to a random salon that I had never been to before in the middle of Coral Gables. So as I said, just keep in mind, I'm at my peak with God. So meaning any time I had a break or anything I was doing, I was listening to a sermon until I went to bed. So I get to the nail salon, I see this lady, and I basically say, hey, I'm missing 2 nails. Could you fix it for me? XYZ. And while she's doing my nails, I'm listening to a sermon. I kid you not. I had my headphones on. I'm listening to the sermon. This woman is doing my nails. It was only 2 ladies that were there working, and there was another girl next to me. And I hear the softest voice, but it was so powerful, but so soft. And I had never heard a voice like this before say, Natalie, turn off the sermon and tell the woman in front of you that she is having a baby this year. And I remember thinking to myself, no. So I played the sermon. I had paused it, thought to myself, no, and then I continued to play it. Again, the voice came, his voice, God's voice. It was so soft but so powerful, and it said, Natalie, trust me, turn off the sermon and tell the woman in front of you she's having a baby this year. So what did I do? I turned off the sermon, and I'm super anxious. In my mind, I'm like, what business do I have telling this stranger this? Anyway, so I make small talk with her, and long story short, I look at her and I said, hey, look, I know this is incredibly invasive, and I know this is so weird. Also, keep in mind, she didn't speak English, so I had to kind of speak in Spanish, and Spanish isn't my number 1 language. Anyways, I basically tell her, you are going to have a baby this year. I cry when I tell this story. Okay, so she looked at me, and she stopped doing my nails, and she immediately started crying. And I remember her friend, like the person next to her. So she turns around and she looks back at me, and she was crying, and she said, I just found out today that I'm pregnant with my first child after years of begging God to make me a mother. Obviously, I get emotional. She gets emotional. Her coworker looked at her and she said, ¿Qué pasó? Which means what happened. And she told her coworker what happened. Her coworker, I remember shaking her head. And then the lady looked back at me and she said, I just told my coworker what you told me and what just happened. And she said, there's no way that it's the pregnancy glow. Basically saying that anybody could tell because she had a glow. And this is what I will never forget. She looked at me and she said, people who do not have the fruit of the Spirit in them think that everything is a coincidence. And I know that God used me that day just to solidify her answered prayer so that she knew that the baby was from him. And basically just acting on that act of faith just really solidified for me that God was indeed real.
Oh, that is so very beautiful and so very powerful, man. God always speaks to us through his Spirit, and it's so very beautiful, man. God bless.